Hi, guys. I'm so excited for today's episode. We have on one of my very close friends that I have been a follower of, a fan of, and admired for so long. Her name is Catherine. You might know her from her TikTok. She is such an honest human being that has talked about her experience with grief after losing her dad. She keeps it real on being in an interracial marriage, living her life to the fullest, sharing beauty, fashion, anything in between. She's also the creator of Questions I Never Got to Ask, which she made after her dad passed away. It's a card deck, and my husband and I are obsessed with it. As soon as we got it in the mail, it asks so many incredible questions that you should be asking your loved ones that maybe will prepare you for the future and what's to come. I've been so excited to sit down with her and chat with her on a deeper level, just past scrolling on the screen. And I think today's conversation just went amazing, and I learned so much, not just about her, but about myself as well. Hi, welcome to Cheers. I'm your host, Avery Woods. Hi, Queen.
Hi.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
Thanks for being here.
Thanks
I'm
for
good.
having me.
When you sat down, you said you feel like we've known each other forever, and I feel like that.
Yeah.
Like we
No,
don't
we
have
do.
to break the ice or anything
Yeah.
because we've been mutuals for so long, and I feel like I know you.
Yeah. I do know you.
Yeah, actually, I do.
I'm
know
like,
you.
I
What am
actually know
talking about?
you.
So for those that don't know you, who are you? How would you describe yourself?
Ooh. My name's Catherine. I do lifestyle content, nothing wild and crazy. I am who I am. I always say that. I actually have that tattooed on my back because I'm like, this is real, this is raw.
I
You're
love
always
it.
gonna get real and raw from me. Um, I don't know. My husband's my best friend. I feel like that's a very
Aw.
huge part of my life.
And
We're
he's
always together.
here,
Yeah, he's here.
supportive
Rafi's here.
king. We love it.
Mm-hmm.
Which your eyes are insane. Like I know you get that all the time. He has gorgeous eyes.
He's winking at me like I'm supposed to give him some validation.
I'm like, you're like, please. I think the babies will get those eyes.
I pray.
Yeah.
I pray.
Oof, I can't wait to see those gorgeous babies
I
when that
can't either.
happens.
We're waiting.
Yeah. So I found you when like a long time ago when you and your dad would get espresso martinis. Which,
Really?
oh yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
that's wild.
And you know what's funny is I don't think I ever had an espresso martini. And then I think after watching your content, I was like, I need to try them. And then I got to an age, like when I had kids, where I can't survive unless I like
Yeah.
drink an espresso martini because I
Yeah.
actually need the caffeine. So, which by the way, I have to bring up because the game that you made, the card game,
hmm
which is questions I wish
Questions I never got to
I
ask.
never got to ask. Okay.
hmm
When you sent that to my house, my husband literally ran up the stairs and was like, "Have you seen this game we got? I'm obsessed with it."
We love that.
Because it really is one of those conversations that you need to have with people in your
hmm
life, but it's kind of awkward or maybe
Yeah.
hard to kind of bring up. And I love why you made it and like the message behind it. So will you kind of talk about your story with your dad and
Yeah.
why you made the game?
So my parents are actually divorced. I was raised in Florida. My dad was from Minnesota, lived there. So I would only get to see him spring break, summer break, and Christmas break. It was like the court ordered dates that I would see my dad. And I eventually got in a fight with my mom in high school, moved to Minnesota. I literally said to my mom, like, fuck you, I'm leaving. And she was
Mm-hmm.
like, fine, bye, and booked me a flight 2 days later. So moved to my dad's house and realized how much of my dad I was and like got really close with him over the last few years of his life without realizing that his life was over. We went on a family vacation and he died in my arms. It was like the craziest, most tragic thing I've ever, yeah, it was wild. Um, and that morning, like, grief is just so interesting to me because it's just like there's so many deep levels to it and so much I had so much anger that I wasn't raised with my dad.
Mm-hmm.
And I ended up doing a podcast episode with my mom because I'm like, again, I wasn't raised with my dad, so I didn't know my dad past just being my dad. Because I didn't have the day-to-day life with him. I had just like the short moments and it's like the fun, like they take you to the water parks and they do the fun stuff with you because
Yeah.
it's like the small amount of time that they get. But I'm like, the older I had gotten, when he died, I'm like, I don't really know my dad as Bill. I knew my dad as my dad. I didn't know, like, what did he think when he got the positive pregnancy test? What did he think when he was 28 and navigating life like I am now? My dad's dad died when he was 8. So I'm like, how did you get through your dad's death? Like, all these questions were going through my head, and I'm like, the one person to answer them is buried 6 feet under right now.
Yeah.
So I ended up doing a podcast episode with my mom, and I asked her a bunch of questions. I'm like, because I wanted to get to know my mom on that level. And that podcast episode was one of the craziest ones I've ever done. Like, it blew up, it was viral. Like, people were like, this is insane. And I just realized when my dad had passed, I realized how many grievers there were and how many
Mhm.
young grievers there were, because you don't expect it. You have no idea that it's coming, and like you hope you live forever and you think your parents are going to live forever. So yeah, I just like sat down one day and I just did a huge deck of questions and I turned it into like I ordered them online. I ordered 500 and they sold out within a few hours of
It's
launching. It was
amazing.
crazy. So I ordered again. It actually sold out on pre-sale before, and I had like tripled that order. So now we have like thousands of them in our
That's
garage because I'm
amazing.
just like, I just want to tell people all the time, you just never know until
No.
you know. And it literally happens in the blink of an eye. We were on family vacation. Like what do you mean my dad died on family vacation, you know? It
Yeah.
just happens instantly.
Yeah, and I think like David and I have a little bit of a different perspective just coming from like the medical cop field,
Hmm.
because that's questions that we would ask family members like when the time had come, and a lot of these people are just aren't prepared
Yeah.
for the unexpected. And it's hard because like you don't want to have to ask questions like that, but they are necessary. And when the time comes and it's too late, it can be really, really
Yeah.
difficult to know what to do or to deal with grief when you don't know the answer to a
Mhm.
lot of things.
I say all the time, I don't want that game to be for grievers. I don't want you to have to have lost a parent to want to buy that game. And that's my huge audience is grievers because they understand.
Hmm.
But I'm like, I want to get ahead of grief. That's why I sent it to people who don't relate to it, because I'm like, you shouldn't have to have a dead parent to want to play. I'm like trying to send it to people. It's like, play while you have the time, or even just like having stepchildren in the picture. Like there's so many things that they probably don't know how to ask, or like
Yeah,
they didn't know about you because they just don't think of like that.
totally.
We have a lot of people that are like, I have a blended family and they play it. So I'm like, it's just a huge, it hits a lot of people. And like you said, you just don't know until you know, and you don't even know to start asking until it's too late. And that's why never is crossed out, because it's questions I got to ask as a consumer, but I put never because obviously I got to not ask them.
Yeah.
But
No, I love that. And I think too, like I think about my kids in the future because there's such a large age gap. Like my
mhm.
oldest is
Yeah,
15 and then 13, and then we have a 6 and a 3-year-old.
yeah,
So like a lot of the girls' lives, the kids won't remember, like my youngest
yeah.
kids. So I think as they get older too, as a blended family, those will be really important questions to ask.
Hmm.
And I love it. I love that you did
Thank
that.
you.
You obviously came from a different background, kind of like me. You came from a different career.
Hmm.
Like where did you start working? What was your career? And then how did you get started in social media?
So I started in the bank, so I didn't finish college. I was,
Finance girly,
yes, I love
period.
money. Excel spreadsheets, like Excel, I need to deal with you. Um, so I started just in the accounting world. I worked my way up, and I actually loved my job. It was never my intent to quit. I
Hmm.
never like, but I've also grown up with social media. I remember in eighth grade, Snapchat came out, and I've just always been on Snapchat. Like,
Yeah.
I was the girly that you would have to like tap through my stories, be like, okay, she's so annoying. And then genuinely,
With the dog filter,
absolutely. And the
period.
rainbow, whatever
Oh
that would
yeah.
come out of your mouth. Yeah.
Yeah. That would come out of your mouth. Yeah.
um, so my dad was a big presence because my husband and I lived with my dad. So my husband and I, like, we didn't really have money. We were getting married. We
Hmm.
bought a house. We were renovating the house. So we're living in my dad's basement. My dad and I just really got along. And it was him, my dad, or my dad, me, and my husband. We were always like making funny TikToks, whatever. Well, then my dad died. And I got 3 days of bereavement. And again, if you know, you know, 3 days is bullshit.
I actually worked with a nurse that had two young kids. Her husband was diagnosed with, I believe it was stage 4 cancer when she was 9 months pregnant with their second,
Oh,
and he passed within like 6 months. And everyone at the hospital donated hours because her bereavement was like nothing, and she would
yeah.
have to use all of her PTO, which she needed to support her young kids. I think it's crazy. Like
My body has the
bereavement
chills.
and maternity leave are
It's
crazy
bullshit.
in America.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, Raphael did the same thing. He donated hours to someone on maternity
that's
leave
amazing.
because he had, and in the government, you just rack them up. He was
Yeah,
donating them.
no, that's
I'm
amazing.
like expecting her back after that. Yeah. Anyways, so my 3 days of bereavement was up, and thank God I was with a firm that was very understanding. They let me apply for FMLA. I took 30 days of leave. So my 30-day call had came. I extended for another 30 days. On the 60th day, they called me. And mind you, like my social media was probably at like 500,000, 500 to 700 maybe at this time. But it wasn't like flowing because I wasn't chasing it like that. I was just doing it for fun. and I really didn't like care about the brand deals because again, I love my job. It was never my intention. But my call came with my manager to extend another 30 days. And as I'm on that call, I kind of had a feeling I wasn't going back. I was like, but I get a call and I always take my calls on speaker. A Gmail popped up and it was a brand deal for like 3 months worth of my bills.
Mm-hmm.
It was the biggest one that I had ever gotten at that time. And I just out of the blue, I was like, you know what? I don't think I'm going to come back, but I really need to talk to my husband about this. I got off that call and I'm like, I'm still shaking because I like that day was just so life changing for me.
Mm-hmm.
And we sat in bed and he was like, I trust in you. Like, let's do it. And I sent an email just like thanking them for giving me that 60 days of peace to just kind of like figure out my life. And here we are. And I
Wow, that's
quit. I literally
amazing.
sent an email and I was like, thank you guys, but I won't be returning. And we never looked back. And I really say that there was two main people in that. It was my dad from above, like guiding me, but also just like the support of a husband and like
Yeah.
pushing you, especially in a female role, like to be seen and bullied by so many people, but to have a man that stands behind you and is like, there's 20 people that want you to fall, but there's 2 million that want to see you succeed. Like, just keep going, just keep pushing through this. And again, it's changed my life. So,
Yeah.
but I loved my job.
I feel like I've had this conversation with so many people in this industry, but it takes a certain type of husband
A
to
1000%.
be behind a woman online.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I've also dealt with this in my personal life where I feel like people read so many things about you or comments or opinions that usually are lies or people are just jealous, whatever the case may be. And that can affect and bleed into your personal relationships.
Yeah.
And I've had people in my personal life judge me or maybe end a relationship or not want to be associated with me anymore just because of what people online think about me. And there's nothing more hurtful than that because you're like trying to shake them. Like, you know me as a person. How can
Mm-hmm.
you believe this about me or how can you say this? But when you have like your consistent stagnant person, which is your spouse, and they're like, it doesn't matter. Like,
Yeah.
you don't want that person in your life anyways. And you also kind of realize like you're the only opinion that matters. Like for me,
Mm-hmm.
it's like the close people in my life, my husband, my kids. That's all that matters. You
Yeah.
know, everything else is just kind of noise. But it's also like a very scary thing to fully count on social media as an income because it
Yeah.
is so ebb and flow
Mm-hmm.
and it can end at any time. So to have your support person believe in you,
Mm-hmm.
that changes everything.
Absolutely. To the comment about people wanting to, what's that saying where it's like, if it's that easy to lose you, you didn't have me to begin with, like,
Yeah.
and we went through that. I had a really, 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 really close friend that for whatever reason decided to sign up for email updates on my Reddit thread. She was my best friend at the time. Yeah.
How did you figure that out?
Because she was fighting with me over stuff that was being said. Like if I would be out with someone and I would say, for example, like you and I go out to dinner and I tag you and the next night we go out and I don't tag her.
Mm-hmm.
That was one of the fights, is that I had tagged someone else but I didn't tag her, and someone like screenshotted it and put it on Reddit and was like, Catherine's clout chasing with this person because she tagged her but doesn't even tag her best friend. And like that was one of the fights. And it was like, my biggest question is, why the fuck are you signed up for my Reddit threads? Like, what?
Reddit is, in my opinion,
It needs to be burned down.
I think it is the most toxic place in the world. Like
Yep.
the things, by the way, I will say, I've never in my entire life looked at anything on Reddit about myself, not one single
Good for
time,
you.
because I knew if I ever opened that can of worms, not only would it not be good for my depression, my suicidal ideation, but I would never stop. I would become obsessed. And I would also
You
like,
want to defend it.
yeah, and like I used to read comment. I don't read comments or anything anymore, but when I used to read comments, I almost took it like constructive criticism and I would start changing
Same.
things about myself. And then I realized I'm not going to win either way because they're still going to be mad. And that's all that Reddit's going to be. But it was brought, I didn't even know about a Reddit existing about me. And then it was brought to my attention legally because they leaked the layout of my home and said which children's rooms are which windows on the outside of my house and like how to access them.
Yeah, remember I reached out to you?
Yeah. It
Same thing.
was fucking
Except I
crazy.
don't have kids in the house, thank fucking God.
It was crazy. And I was like, there's two things that make me laugh about it. Number one, people that say I show my kids on the internet and have a problem with it, but then they risk their lives by sharing the layout of my house and saying what their bedrooms are. And then number two is, why are you so obsessed? Like, why is it to the point where you want to risk my family's life, like their safety?
Didn't you say it was like a mom too?
Yeah, I was a mom of four.
That's crazy.
Yeah, that bitch is crazy.
Is she like, did she get in trouble for that?
Well, it's funny because I apparently had like a main Reddit account that had tens of thousands of followers.
That's
It
nuts.
legally got taken down and they were all really mad about it. But when you spread lies, there's legal things involved like defamation of character, the
Yeah.
safety of my children. Do you know what they would do every Monday? Happy Monday. Time to leave a 1-star review and a bad comment on Cheers. And they would illegally download my episode, post it on Reddit so I wouldn't get listens or like views. So they would watch it on Reddit.
They're just fans.
That's
Like the
copyright. You
big,
can't do
yeah.
that.
Wait, so did you sue? I'm like, give me the tea. What happened?
We know we have their names, but the Reddit got removed and it was
Yeah.
internally flagged. So anytime they make new accounts, they just get internally flagged and taken down. So they're mad about it. But it's funny because like we track their IP address and I'm like, you have kids at home. Like I can see where you
Yeah.
work. I can see what your husband's name is. I can see the
Yeah.
city you live in. I can see your 4 children's names. What would they think as they get older that
Absolutely.
their mom, while they're playing in their
bullying
house, is
someone?
on her phone or on the computer wanting someone to end their life?
What
It's
makes me sad is I'm
crazy.
like, how do you talk to your kids? I
Right?
have this older lady who harasses the hell out of me, and I kind of dove into her life, and she has like a young daughter in college,
Isn't it sad?
and I literally responded to her. I was like, I pray you don't use her daughter's name like this.
Yeah.
And she was like, I'm just giving you feedback, and I'm like, feedback I didn't ask for.
Yeah.
Like if you don't like me, unfollow. I'm not paying you to be here. Like you do not clock in here.
Yeah, it's crazy. I think people also just have an issue with like outspoken women because I don't know if you've experienced this, but I feel like the majority of people that I've met from social media are much more like reserved online because we really do like put up a shell and protect ourselves.
Yeah.
But I feel like you and I are the type that just like speak freely
Yeah.
and that automatically puts a target on our back and makes us controversial, which I don't agree with. I think anyone, especially like in the podcasting world, any man can say whatever the fuck they want.
Mm-hmm.
But the second it comes out of a woman's mouth,
Mm-hmm.
we get shit. And I think
Mhm.
it's bullshit.
Yeah, I agree. It's
But
tough. It's tough because exactly like what you say, you take it as like feedback and you're like, do I change? Like I
yeah.
play that in my head all the time. You have no like over probably the last year, I watch back and I cut out and I cut out and I re-edit and I refilm and I'm like, when did I become so concerned about what I'm saying?
I know.
And it honestly bothers me, but then even like I'll hear him where he'll be like, oh, you should maybe like redo that or oh, maybe you should take that out. And I'm like, now he's even like seeing
Yeah.
how much criticism I've gotten and he'll be like, no, maybe that's not the best. And it's crazy because it's not even like anything wild. I'm not sitting here saying like some wild shit. I'm literally just talking.
Yeah.
It's nuts. It's annoying. It's very frustrating. But what's funny is I cheer everyone else on. So I'm like,
Always.
I don't, even if like it was someone who came from and did the same, I don't know, whatever.
Yeah, I know. I think about when I worked as a nurse and I would watch people in my position and I was like, damn, she's fucking killing it. Like, that's my motivation. Good for her. Never, even when I was broke as hell, working crazy hours, working during COVID pregnant, I was never like, fuck that girl.
Yeah.
I hate that she's successful and makes money. I was like, I'm going to be that
Yeah,
one
I'm
day.
like, how'd you do it?
No,
like, what's
seriously.
up?
I'm
Tell
like,
me the
what's your
deets."
secret?
Yeah,
Like, I
I'm
want to
like,
do the same thing.
hmm
Anyways,
I was like, we could talk about this forever.
I'm like, anyways, I want to hear the story about how you guys met because you're just the sweetest and I'm obsessed
Oh
with
my
you
gosh,
guys.
thank you. So we're both from Florida.
Okay.
Buckle up.
Wait,
Okay.
where in Florida?
I'm from the Clearwater area, right outside of Tampa.
Okay.
Yeah.
We go to Destin
Okay.
every year, but
That's like the panhandle.
okay.
So Tampa Bay.
Yeah.
It's the middle of the state. And then
Okay.
he's from Orlando.
Okay.
Okay, so invisible strings. So I was raised in Florida with my mom. My dad lived in Minnesota. Raphael's parents got a job in LA. So he was out in LA, did football here. He got recruited, was like top in the country,
Period.
went to college
Football king.
for football, and ended up, his story is his story, ended up in Minnesota for football, was playing there, right?
Okay.
I got in a fight with my mom. I got sent to my dad's in Minnesota.
Mm.
Very weird. So a couple years goes past. I'm working at the bank. I was at Wells Fargo. He came in. He has a whole Florida sleeve tattoo on his arm. And I was like, 407 Orlando. He was like, how the fuck do you know that? And I was like, 727 Tampa.
Orlando.
Yeah. Anyways, because Minnesota boys are like not it. No offense. But or like actually full offense. Take that as criticism, okay? Anyways, so we got each other Snapchats. This is years ago, 8 or 9 years ago at
Not the
this point.
Snapchat
Well,
exchange.
because we're 6 years apart. We're 6 years apart, and I actually was like in and on and off of again relationship. It was really horrible, very toxic, but was still living with the guy. But we were on our off, so got each other Snapchats. It was too serious to get numbers, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So over the years, like 4 years had gone past, and I was always running into him all the time.
4 years?
Yeah.
What?
He would like bounce at the bars on the weekends, because like, and to that day, I didn't know his first name. I knew nothing because he goes by Wash because our last name's Washington, and football they called him Wash, whatever. Never even knew his first name. I had him in my phone as a ghost emoji because again, I'm like in a very toxic relationship where I was like, I'm not trying to get whatever. Anyways, so time goes on. We consistently ran into each other all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I end up moving downtown. I get jury duty.
Oh, no.
And I posted on my Snapchat that I was at the courthouse. Didn't say why I was at the courthouse. He slides up on my story and was like, what judge do I need to talk to? Mind you, I really don't know anything about this man. And I was like, what do you mean, what judge do I need to talk to? He's like, what trouble are you in? I was like, no, I'm here for jury duty. This is in January of 2020. So we ended up, he was like, hey, do you still have your boyfriend? And I was like, no. I was like, are you seeing anyone? No. Okay, so COVID hits. 2 days into COVID, I'm like, I messaged him on Snapchat. I was like, I'm going to a Cheesecake Factory to get cheesecake. Do you want some? He was like, sure. I pull up to his apartment. He's 3 blocks from my apartment. Yeah, we live downtown together. Didn't know that. Have been together literally ever since. But come to find out, so again, I'm from Florida. He's from Florida. He has a brother my mom's age. His oldest brother is my mom's age. And his daughter is my age. So his niece is my age.
Mm-hmm.
She worked with my stepsister, which was really weird because, like, very weird. So then also my stepsister married a guy who's from where he went and played football in California.
Mm-hmm.
So we were like, it was just all these invisible strings that, like, it was just weird. But that's how we met.
Wow.
Long story long.
So it was meant to be.
Absolutely meant to be. We dated for about a year. We got engaged. We were married 9 months later. And I just, like, they say when you know, but I genuinely, okay, so when I met him and got his Snapchat, we went on one date, like, again, in that month that I was off with someone, and the date didn't go well, but I left that date like, no, that's okay, like, I'm not really about that. But then I kept just being so pulled to this man, and I was like, why? I remember sitting at a bar with my girlfriends, and I had said to them, I was in a full relationship with the ex-boyfriend, and I was talking to my girlfriends, I was like, when that guy is ready for me, I will leave whoever I'm with, that's my husband. And at our wedding, I said that in the vows, and everyone standing behind me was like, yeah, she's batshit crazy, but it worked. I'm like, cute. I just always knew. I don't know. And now, like, again, looking back, 100% we were meant for each other. And I really believe that God both made us together. Like, we're very much, and it's like, sometimes I look at our horoscopes and I'm like, holy shit, like, all that stuff, like, everything about us is very yin and yang. But we balance so well. Mm-hmm. It's like, it's absolutely crazy. But we have so much fun.
You said you're 6 years apart?
Mm-hmm.
So are my husband and I. We're 6 years apart too.
Aren't they hot?
Yeah. Oh, people hate it though, because I met him when I was like 2 months before I turned 19. So like, you were 18 and he was 24. I'm like, okay, now we're 30 and 36. Sue me.
Right.
Like,
well, we were 20 and 26. Raphael's behind the camera like,
I'm like, babe, it's okay. We've been together for 12 years. I think
I'm like,
do
you want notes? I'll give you notes on how to get a hot older man.
No, literally. I'm like, have fun dating a 20-year-old boy. So you've talked about starting a family, having kids. What's that journey look like for you guys?
We've been sharing our struggles. Well, it's okay. So this is like a two-edged sword. I've always leaned towards no, and I've publicized no.
I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And we're getting ripped to shreds right now.
Because you said that.
Because we've always leaned no. And
that's your choice to make. If you are set and not having children, that is a very impactful, important decision that you are making.
Oh, absolutely.
Because unless you are 120% sure, no one should be having children. If you're not ready to fully give up your life to put your kids first, kids deserve better.
Yeah.
Like I think it's a very brave decision and a very important story to share, because there's a lot of people in your position that think the same. And I think that they're shamed in that, because when you're a woman our age, a childbearing age, it's like, where's your kids? Why aren't you pregnant? You know?
Here's the things that people are mad about. One, I've always leaned no, publicly leaned no. Like, I've probably actually said online no. Like, not even I'm leaning no. I don't have exact videos, but I'm sure there's people out there that are like, no, Catherine, I've heard you say no. One, you don't know exactly what I was in. I was in Minnesota. My dad's wife and her, like, it was just a very, very toxic situation. Like, I remember going to Costco and running into someone that looked like her, and I had like almost a full panic attack because after his death, like, it was just it was horrible. I couldn't imagine raising a kid in Minnesota, being around, just having anxiety,
Mm-hmm.
just being around the situation. I didn't, after my dad's death too, I'm like, I didn't want a world where I had children and my dad didn't know them. I didn't want a world where my kids didn't know my dad. Like, there was so much to it. The money was different. Raphael's job in Minnesota was so much different than what it was in than what it is in Texas. And it's just like a lot of pieces. Then we moved to Texas and we started to breathe. And not only breathe, but we started to like, our marriage grew so much. And it's like, I don't want to say like it came, like it was bad before. I thought it was great before, but now
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, holy shit, how much deeper we've gotten when it
Yeah.
was just the two of us figuring out life. And I'm like, I would love a kid. I would love to bring a baby into this. I would love to share our love with them. Anyways, so what that's a big problem is going from yes to no or no to yes. And then now I've been talking about, because I'm huge into like, I know it's not necessarily easy to get pregnant. They say wait up to a year before you go to infertility, but I'm like, two healthy human beings and y'all be fucking? Like, what do you mean we're not getting pregnant? I'm not stupid.
Mm-hmm.
And so many people, because I'm advocating for that year-long gap between waiting to see if we're infertile, and I'm talking about like struggling to get pregnant. I've never said we're infertile, but the infertile people, like the women that have, and I'm like, that's a journey in itself, and I respect that. I'm sorry for what you're going through, but I'm getting ripped to shreds being like, just wait till you're 7 years deep. And I'm like, but stop invalidating what the women go through in this year.
Yeah.
And I ended up going to the doctor early because I had said like, I didn't even bring up like we're struggling to get pregnant. I was like, something's wrong in my body, because I was to the T every single month for the last 6 years that I've been off birth control. And I'm like, now I'm 17 days late, 15 days late. I'm having breast issues. I'm having nausea. I can't sleep. I'm like, what the hell is going on? So I called my doctor and they were like, no, yeah, something's obviously wrong. Come to find out I have PCOS. And I'm like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
but I advocated for myself. And so now I'm online saying, don't say that you're infertile. Like, just say like, hey, something's wrong in my body. But this time frame is so difficult because I'm like, I'm not invalidating the women that are infertile, but if you're struggling to get pregnant, that still sucks too. And I've never once came out and said we can't get pregnant, but I'm like, the struggles to get pregnant is still also a mental game.
Mm-hmm.
Then I go into, well, I've said no my whole life. Why do I feel bad? Like, why am I upset with myself that I'm not getting pregnant when my whole life I didn't want this? So there's just like this whole mental game with it. So we've changed our diets. We've done everything that like is PCOS friendly. And right now, honestly, we're not trying. We're just kind of hanging out again because I'm like, the mental struggle of
Yeah.
like, to the
Feeling like it's a no every month. It's
yeah,
hard.
it's
Yeah.
hard. It's like, I don't know. It's just something that I was like, the way I was getting ripped to shreds, I'm like, okay, maybe let me just chill and like have fun and maybe it'll happen. But
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think going back to what you said before too about how first it was a no and now everyone changes, everyone evolves. And I also think where you're at in life is very important. Like we have very close friends of ours that we've known for 10 years and they were both so adamant, no kids, no kids, no kids. And they started dating, got married, and now they have a 1 year old. Like that changed for them.
mhm,
Like getting married and finding a partner that you're like, I could envision like creating life together and like raising kids
yeah,
together. That's a normal thing.
hmm,
And I think the fact that people don't give you grace and being like, well, my frontal lobe is now developed and I feel
yeah,
like I'm ready to be a mom. That's okay.
or
That's a
just
normal
life's
thing.
different. Yeah,
Yes. And also, whether you're struggling for a year or 5 years, that doesn't mean it hurts any less,
yeah,
And I think that those moms that are trying and not getting pregnant and coming after you, I think that's something that they're very hurt about
yeah,
and maybe, projecting because they're upset. But I also think as women, like we should encourage each other and be there for people that are going through the same things
hmm,
as us trying,
yeah.
whether it's for a short amount of time or a long amount of
And the
time.
community of that under a year is huge. It's
Yes.
huge. So it's like, I don't care if you talk shit about me, but it's all the women in my comment section saying thank you for advocating for this because I feel uncomfortable complaining. But like 6 months is still a long time. Like to
Yeah.
know again, when you're two healthy people, like you're doing everything to a T, like you're ovulating, you're doing everything that you're supposed to be doing. You're like, what is wrong? Like but you can't go to the doctor yet. It's like,
Hmm.
a year is a long time.
It is.
And then you just sit there and like, what's wrong with me? What did I do? And you have no answers because you can't go to a doctor yet. Like, that year sucks.
It does.
And when you just hear, like, when I see other women like comment to other people and like, it's just crazy. And I'm like, it makes me sad because I'm like, I get the women that have waited for more than a year. I know that that's hard because clearly I'm under a year and it's still hard. But to rip the people in my comment sections apart being like, well, you've only been trying for 6 months, shut up. It's like, it's just nuts to me. It's hard.
And also, like, have a little bit of grace and, like, compassion and empathy. I think people that are keyboard warriors, like, we've lost empathy in this world, and it just makes me really sad. You are very honest. Like, you speak your mind on social media, your podcast. Where does that come from? Like, what motivation did you have to just always be yourself and speak about things that most people would not?
My mom.
Really?
Yeah.
Is that how she is?
No.
Oh.
No. My mom came from a mom who only liked boys, and she had three brothers, and just her was the only daughter, and really just like mentally abused the hell out of my mom.
Mm.
And my mom's got a lot of confidence issues because of it. So she just beat the hell out of confidence into me. She was like, you walk in any room, you own anything, you can do anything.
Period.
She loves everybody. I don't worry about bringing anyone around my mom, because she's just always taught me that, like, just be you, hang out with who you want to hang out with, do good in the world. Like, and still to this day, she's like, I don't know where you got it from. I'm like, you. Like,
That's
everything that
amazing.
you lacked, you literally just shoved down my throat for so long. And we butt heads all the time. And I sometimes look at her and I'm like, and I've had struggles with her lack of confidence because I'm like, what? Like, I'm like, how did you beat the hell out of this? And like, when I turn around, I'm like, Mom, just have a backbone. Like,
Yeah.
come on. Like, you know what to do.
Yeah.
Just do it for yourself. But yeah, definitely my mom. And then my dad's just funniness was like, he was just very much the same way of like, but he was very outgoing, very confident. He could run any room. So definitely the both of them.
Yeah.
Always.
You guys recently moved to Texas.
Yep.
Congratulations. How do you like it?
I wouldn't say congratulations. No, I'm just kidding.
Why?
It's Texas.
Why? I heard it's like the place to be. Everyone's moving there. Are you kidding?
It's the place to be to save some money and get a nice house.
You know what? Period.
Yeah.
Hey, I was in Arizona for a long time for the same reason.
Remember I texted you? I was like, and you were like, yeah, no.
Yeah.
That's how I feel about Dallas. If someone were to text me.
Because you were asking me about Arizona. Yeah. Here's the thing. We bought our house in 2019. Like, we were a cop and a nurse. We were able to buy a good sized house to fill all 6 of us. And you go where you need to go.
Yeah.
You know?
We just had to get out of Minnesota. And we kind of talked. We're like, where do we go? Especially with, I was full time at that point. I'm like, where do I go that will progress my future? Where do I go that you can still have your career?
Totally.
Where do we go to save money? And we always said Texas was our stepping stone. We don't think we're going to be there permanently. We had a 2 to 5 year plan. We ended up, the morning we got our house, we had walked like 40 houses the day before. The next morning we came to check out like 4 or 5 of our favorites. And we just so happened, the first house we walked in on second day, it was directly across the street from our house. And I was like, did we see that one yesterday? And the guy was like, no, it just fell from contract this morning. Mind you, when we were looking to buy, we were in phase C of the neighborhood. The guy that fell from contract was in phase A, and they honored phase A's price point.
Oh, damn.
So day of closing, since then, one neighbor paid $150 more than us. One neighbor paid $120 more than us. House across the street's paying $100 more than us. So we're like, we knew we walked into equity, which was the whole goal in Texas to just kind of settle down and save some money. And that's just what we've been doing. I don't love it. It's Texas. And I like the roads there are horrible. They don't have the infrastructure for it. There's constantly construction. The drivers are just, and I really just blame this on the driving. I hate the driving there.
Wait, really?
It is so bad. I literally get in and I pray. I'm like, just please don't take my life today. Like, he has to drive everywhere because I literally drive like a grandma. I'm so scared there. And I normally never drive like that. Like, I grew up in Florida. My Florida instructor literally said, don't use blinkers when you're changing lanes because that gives the opportunity to let someone not let you in. So I don't use blinkers. Well, I used to not, but anyways, yeah, it's just, and the weather's scary. I don't think a lot of people know Dallas is like the very end of Tornado Alley. So like our first week living there, our people, not people, but houses in our neighborhood that were just wood at that time, blown everywhere. Like, storms get so bad there. And I think that's one of the biggest, scariest things for us is like, we don't really fuck with natural disasters. We're like, okay, where do we go next?
I'm like, who does?
Yeah.
I know.
It's terrifying to just lose everything. And then our thing is like, we have dogs, but I'm like, I can't imagine raising babies in this house and having to get the dogs out. Like, where do you go?
Yeah. Do you have a basement?
Texas
No.
can't dig into the ground because it's all clay.
Oh.
Yeah.
Shows how much I know. Don't you have to have like some sort of escape bunker or something for natural disasters like that? Is that not
You're
a
supposed
thing?
to, but
Shit.
I don't think Dallas was fully prepared because we're like on the eastern side of Dallas. So we're at the very tip of, or at the very end of Tornado Alley. And yeah, we have no resources.
Damn.
Just us and
Yeah.
the dogs driving away from the storm, I guess.
I spent most of my childhood here in California, but like more Central Coast. And
Okay.
I was in a pretty large earthquake and I was babysitting when I was like 11
Yeah.
because at our schools we didn't have fire drills. We had earthquake drills. And so we had to learn how to like deal with
Yeah.
earthquakes. And so I like knew to put these kids under the table and stuff. But I remember aftershocks waking me up for like the next year because you have aftershocks of an
Wild.
earthquake. So like we
For
couldn't
a
have anything on
year.
our walls. Yeah, our street completely cracked in half. Like people in our town died. But now we're like back to earthquake
Yeah.
zone. And yeah, and I think it was like 2 weeks ago, someone was like, "Oh, an earthquake just happened." I was like, "Oh shit, we're back in natural
Yeah.
disaster zone." So I
Yeah.
feel you.
When we talked about Florida, I was like, I grew up in hurricanes. Like Katrina it
See?
was tough.
Oh,
And
that's
like
so
the
scary.
one that just hit my hometown and killed a lot of people.
Oh, that's so
So I'm like,
sad.
I
That's
don't know.
so sad.
I can't.
So, what do you have coming up? What's your next plan over the next 5 years?
Oh my God, deep. I'm like, shit, I didn't think about this one.
Uh,
I want to keep living life.
yeah, just
Rough.
living life like Courtney Kardashian.
Yeah. I love to just live life. I say that all the time. Like, I like to just speak positivity into the universe and to say, like, I get paid to live my life is the coolest thing ever.
The best.
I love to travel. I want to grow the cards into more. I've already have like 9 renditions, like for the
Yay.
girls, reconnecting couples before marriage. Like, there was so much positivity and the amount of people that I've met from that. I am doing my first grief panel,
That's
leading a
amazing.
grief panel. Yeah. So I really want, because I have, and like not to toot my own horn, but toot toot, I very much know how to put feelings into words. I don't know where it came
You
from,
do.
but I like process, I feel them, and then I'm like, okay, how do I articulate them? And then every single time I meet people, they're not like, oh my God, you're so funny. Every single person I meet, they're like, thank you for changing. Thank you for like changing my life. Thank you for articulating this for me. Thank you for letting me process my own feelings without, like, we just met someone yesterday at a coffee shop and she was like, my dad's death actually happened before your dad's. But when you were processing your death, you were helping me because I was so numb for years that I didn't even
Mm.
like acknowledge his death. I was in denial. And she was like, I started grieving my dad when you started grieving your dad. And I'm like, how wild is that? That me just processing and sharing my life online was able to help people. Um, and I always knew that I was put on earth to help. And when I got a platform, I remember saying to myself, like, why the hell do I have this many followers? Like, I really don't do anything crazy. And then the death happened and the grief and like more and more that I go through, I talk about, and I'm like, this is why. And I really want to continue to use my voice for others who feel like they don't have one. I don't want to say like no one has a voice or people that don't have a voice, because everyone has a voice. It's just sometimes you don't feel like you do.
Yeah.
I want to keep speaking for those. So I'm excited for the grief panel, which is really weird because I'm like,
When is that?
July in Boston.
Yay.
It'll be
That's so
fun. Yeah,
exciting.
I'm excited.
You deserve that. You're the perfect person
Thank
to
you.
speak at something like that
Thank you.
because you do articulate yourself very well. And I feel like your grief content, even for people that maybe haven't experienced that, can empathize. And I think it
Mhm.
also maybe prepares them for the
Yeah.
future if they experience something like that.
Well, I want to say everyone experiences grief.
Yeah,
And I think that's something that a lot of people think death is grief. But I know so many college athletes that grieved the NBA. You know, they
totally.
grieved that. I know so many women who have grieved the thought of a child, or there's so much grief in life, or like even an ex-boyfriend where like I'm grieving the life that I thought I once had. Everybody experiences grief. And it's just at a different level. And when I hear people all the time being like, you're so strong, I'm like, no, you have it in you too. You didn't realize that every storm you've weathered your entire life is getting you to the biggest hurricane that you're going to ever experience, but you know how to stay afloat because you've been battling these storms your whole life.
Yeah,
It's just now you're losing your dad, or now you lost your mom, or your best friend, or your husband, or your child. Like, but everyone has it in them because we've all been through shit.
totally.
And that's again where I'm like, grief. I want to talk about it in a way of like, it's not necessarily just death. And so I'm excited because I'm like, everyone in that room relates to grief. You just don't process grief. You don't put grief on, oh, I didn't make it into my favorite college, or
Mm-hmm.
my best friend and I no longer talk. I'm more in best friends. I'm more in the relationships I once
Totally.
had all the
Every
time.
day. Yeah.
Absolutely.
I grieve nursing.
Do you really?
Yeah, totally. Like even when I was back there, when I visited for Nurses Week and was talking to some of my old managers and friends, and I just like to stop by when I'm in
Yeah.
Arizona. It's nice to see them. But um yeah, like I see, what they're doing in the rooms, and I just like I miss that part of my brain. And
Yeah.
like obviously my entire life I wanted to be a nurse since I was a toddler. And so I never
I love that.
expected to be here.
Yeah.
And also, like, I fully expected to be at that unit for my entire career. And, like, I wouldn't have left if I didn't have other opportunities for my family. But it is hard when you have life changes like
Yeah.
that. And that is considered grief. I've never really
Mm-hmm.
thought about that.
Yeah. Or just for example, like say Scotty one day gets this amazing opportunity,
No,
right?
no.
But
Sorry,
like for
Scott.
example,
Not
right?
going to happen. I'll pay you more. You
She
give
said
me a
you're not going
salary.
anywhere.
Nope. Nope.
But for an example, right? Like
Yeah.
that would be a huge loss.
Unfortunately, he wouldn't be alive.
Sorry, Scotty. You know what?
Gets
Never
arrested
mind.
for murder.
Don't even get it in your head.
Everyone here is dying.
She's the
Yeah.
first suspect on
So
the
the one
suspect
person I
list.
won't be grieving is Scott, because Scott's unfortunately stuck with us
Okay, but
forever.
for example,
Yeah,
moving like
got it.
when you're like, you cheer someone on, you're like, I love that,
Of
but you miss
course.
those moments, you
Yeah,
miss those memories. I know so many people who graduated college who spent 4 years in a dorm and they miss that. They miss the life.
totally.
There's so much that we grieve every single day. I just feel like people don't process it because we think of grief as a lost loved one,
Yeah.
which obviously that's the biggest form in my opinion, but I feel like we're all prepared for it when it comes simply because we've been battling it our whole life.
Yeah, I definitely grieve like my pre-baby body. That's for sure.
I'm like,
Um,
okay, so I should be taking more pics right now.
oh my God,
Perfect.
no, you're literally so hot.
No, I'm like, that's why I'm like, I need to
You're
get
gonna be
online right
you're
now.
gonna be bump and only bump. I turned into Shamu.
Did you?
Yeah, I was an exhibit at SeaWorld. I had like the biggest splash of all time. Like the wet zone, like the soak
Uh-huh.
zone. Yeah, that was me.
I love that.
Yeah,
I love it.
big mama.
I say this to my friends all the time though, but you grew a healthy and beautiful baby.
Oh yeah, I could give two shits. I was eating a dozen Krispy Kreme every day. Like
Absolutely.
I did it to myself, and you know
So-
what? I relished in it.
One of my best friends called me the other day and she's 3 months postpartum right now. And she answered the phone, her hood up, like her hair messed up.
Oh yeah.
And I had just taken a gummy. So I answer the phone, I'm like, you look like shit. She starts crying. I'm like, oh, I was like, what's happening?
yeah.
And I'm giggling. Like, I'm like, hee, what's happening? And she was like, I was calling because I just feel so bad about my body.
Oh,
I was like,
poor
oh,
thing.
let me get my life back together right now.
Wait, do you want to hear a crazy story? Actually, I've never talked about this publicly. So I used to have this friend that's also a very large content creator, no longer in my life. But when I was postpartum with Stevie, mind you, I exclusively breastfed that child for 14 months, okay? And
Holy shit.
I worked full-time as a
Are your
nurse.
nips okay?
Oh, girl, I had to get a lift. It was a whole thing. No, I fixed that shit. No, they weren't. Nothing
Did
about
they
my
hurt?
boobs. Breastfeeding?
Yeah, because they got teeth by that age, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. She was ripping on that shit. I didn't really have feeling anymore. Anyways.
Teeth. Okay.
Okay. So that's like, I'm very proud of that because I worked as a nurse. Like I was pumping. I was up all night breastfeeding. I'd go work a 12-and-a-half-hour shift. Like, you know what? You can say whatever you want, but like I sacrificed those titties. Okay. And that girl
love it.
loved her milk. But I remember on maternity leave, I was postpartum. David got like 4 weeks off with her, which was so nice because with Ziggy, he got 3 days off. So like
Oh
I
my
had help
God.
at home, but then he went back to work. So of course I'm up all night breastfeeding. And then I have a 2.5-year-old as well that's like running around
Yeah.
trying to potty train him. My life was chaos. I looked like shit. Okay. I was in a nursing bra and sweatpants. I washed my hair like once every 3 months. I was a disaster. But I would always do like Q&As on my Instagram. And like one thing about me, I think everyone's aware of, like, I don't care how, like, I'm here, no makeup.
Yeah,
I just
same.
don't care. It
You're gonna
just,
see me at all stages of life.
yeah. And also, like, would you rather me be fake and like put on a full beat?
Some people do.
Which is crazy to
people
me
do.
because I'm like, it's just not relatable. I just don't care. You can say I look ugly or old or whatever, but like, I just don't care to get ready every day. That's just not
Mhm.
me. So I was answering questions and like breastfeeding Stevie. And like, I had a messy bun. I look like shit. Listen, I was up the entire fucking night. And I remember specifically in that Q&A, I was like, I was showing on my breastfeeding app that she was up like 8 times that night. So I was getting like 30-minute stretches, if
Okay.
that, right? And then David goes and works a 10-hour shift. I'm alone. Well, she sent a screenshot of me answering the Q&A and goes, she looks like absolute fucking shit. I cannot believe that she has the confidence to show herself on the internet like this.
She sent that to you on accident?
No, she sent it to someone else who sent it to me.
Did you drop her as a friend right then and
Yeah,
there?
immediately. I also so bad want to tell everyone on the internet that I drove her to her liposuction procedure that she was never honest about, as she's advocating for body positivity.
Wait,
But
gotta
I
notice
never
this.
did. You know, that's the kind of stuff, and those are the kind of people online that are like, oh my God, I love you, you're amazing. And I'm like, if only you know what she's
Okay, I want to
fucking
talk about
done
this.
behind the
I want
scenes.
to talk about
It's crazy because so many people have so many opinions about me, but I'm like, you can't say that I'm doing shit like that because
Yeah.
that is, I would never, even to my biggest hater that's so mean to me, I will always kill them with kindness.
Okay, so we were talking about this before. Not me like taking over.
No,
We were talking
please.
about this before because this truly drives me nuts. And I was saying to you, like, I see people say this about you. You're no longer relatable because you're no longer a nurse. Same thing with me, where people are like, you bought a new house. Like, I followed you when you lived in your parents' basement. I'm like, cool. You want me to live in my parents' basement for the rest of my life?
And you cheered me on until I was successful and then you dropped me.
Right.
Why is that?
That's my biggest question. But then I just made a video the other day where I was like, but there's people who were going to be successful no matter what in life because they had parents that would never let them fail.
Mm-hmm.
They're on benders, they're carrying these $10,000 bags in college, but they post something.
They have trust funds.
But then they post something like, oh, I'm bloated today. And you're like, oh, thank you for advocating for the bloated girlies. I'm like, what? That is like the number one thing. Truly,
Mhm.
that is not a lot pisses me off. That is the number one thing that gets to my skin where I'm like, why are certain people on pedestals where they are so relatable, but people who have genuinely come from nothing? Like, I remind people all the time, my husband was homeless at a point in his life. Like, I didn't know stability. There was times in my life where, like, I went to bed hungry because it was easier to sleep than it was to be hungry on my couch,
Yeah.
you know, watching TV. So I'm like, I remember at a job, like, looking out the window hoping my car didn't get repoed. And you're mad that I bought a house. Like,
yeah.
but it drives me nuts. How do you deal with that when you meet people that are like put on a pedestal, but you're like, you are not anything that these people think you are?
You know what's actually funny is I feel like a lot of those people are like in awe of my story because they've never, like, no one knows the full story online, right? And
Yeah.
like that's my story to share and I won't
Yeah.
probably because no matter what you say it gets picked apart. But I think when people get to know me or come from a different background, they're like, holy shit, like that's kind of crazy.
Mm-hmm.
But it is different. Like we kind of talked about this before the cameras were on, which is when people have had the same privilege their whole life, it's not a change. They don't see a drastic change. But when people, you know, have followed me since nursing school and they see where I'm at now, they support you until that success kicks in and you're able to make a change. But they would too. They would do the same exact
Absolutely.
thing that we've done. And you always will, especially when everyone relies on you. Like my family relies on me heavily. Like, you know, that's something that people don't see behind the scenes is like the more success I make, the more I will always give and take care of others. Like
Absolutely.
everyone that works around me is a close friend or family member.
Creating content genuinely is my passion.
Me
Like, people
too.
ask me like, what's my hobby? I love to film.
I love it.
You know how many videos I have on my phone that are like vlogging and documenting my own life that I
Yes.
don't post?
Yeah.
And I'm like, why would you not chase getting paid to do what you're passionate about? And that's another thing that you had brought up, like how much you give back. That's us too. And I'm like, I know people who are making multi-millions of dollars that never once care about their community. They don't do anything. And again, you're on a pedestal. I'm like, it drives me nuts. Or like,
Or when you give back and like if I ever like vlog me giving back or doing something, which usually is just to put attention positively
Yeah.
on a brand that cares or maybe a corporation like St. Jude, who I love so much, and they say you do it for attention. I'm like, if only you knew behind the scenes what I do out of the
Yes.
free will and like,
But if we were to film it, you'd be like, you're doing this for attention.
and
It's
I
like,
am so blessed to be able to do
Yeah.
that. But I'm like, if I filmed every single thing I did, you would also have an issue.
Yeah.
So it's like, just
or they're
chill.
like, we did we call it the human holidays because our business is human too. And we did like a $10,000 giveaway of like gifts and stuff, and they're like, this is just for write-off purposes. And I'm like,
Right
okay,
off, please.
like, what do you
No,
want?
literally.
Because I'm like, either way, I'm still paying taxes. Like, don't worry about that. Like, I'm still
Yeah.
still giving to the government as well. But I'm like, why would I not give back to our community if we can? Like, it just doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Or I get that too, where we did like a teacher appreciation, and someone was pissed, and I didn't publicize the teacher appreciation because we just did it for like our local schools. And someone was like, why do you never care about the teachers and like these people and these people? And like, I literally sent her photos of us like dropping them off at the school. So I was
Wait,
like,
that's
love you.
actually hilarious because my parents were both teachers. Like my mom she did kindergarten through second grade and then some special education in between, but for 42 years.
Oh my gosh.
And my dad was a high school math teacher and golf coach for
I could
like
see him being a high school
35.
teacher.
Yeah,
He definitely got hit on.
he was my math teacher and my sister's math teacher. And it was funny because like I was the nerd that got A's and like loved math, so I got an A in his class and everyone thought we cheated. And he was like, 5 years ago I gave my other kid a D, so no.
Yeah.
But like I clear teachers lists
all the time.
so much. Like both my kids, all of their teachers list cleared. I will do anyone that tags me. I will always clear teachers list. But because I don't advertise that, it's why the fuck don't you give back to teachers? Why aren't you clearing teachers list? I do, but I don't need to advertise for it. I'm just doing it.
It's frustrating.
You know, but if you share it one time, it's, oh, you just want positive attention.
You're
I'm
doing
like,
it for the views.
if I wanted it for views, I would be sharing shit multiple times a week.
Yeah, I'm like, I know how to get views, babe.
Yeah, literally.
I really know I could start some shit with some views
Literally.
if you really want.
Okay, so apparently you have some questions for me.
Yes.
She had a great idea and you asked your followers to ask me questions, yeah?
I love it.
Okay, period.
some
I've never been
screenshots
in the
of
hot seat on my own podcast.
I know, that's why I wanted to do it.
Okay.
Because I have always done the podcast, and
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm the interviewer. I was like, I don't know. I've never really been the interviewer.
Now I'm ready. I'm an open book.
Okay, so you actually asked me this question, so I love that this is one that someone said. I love her energy so much. How is she always so confident?
Oh, that's so nice. Well, I wasn't for a long time, but I always say having kids made me so confident. Because
Really?
I always had really bad body image issues. Like I went through a bulimia phase in high school. I say phase like it's like a casual thing. I it's not funny. But yeah, I just had really
Laughs, not
bad.
funny.
Yeah, I had bad body image issues, and I feel like when I became confident in myself, it was after seeing what my body was capable of, having kids, and also like being a working mom that gave me confidence within. And I'm such a fan of the phrase fake it till you make it, because I feel like when
Absolutely.
you fake confidence and like your presence, you feel that way. And
Mhm.
also confidence is from within. It's not about what you look like. Like I always say in the bedroom, if you're insecure versus confident, like a man thinks confidence is so hot no matter what you look like.
Yeah.
You know? Because you're like, I'm
Well,
confident
we
on
love
this
that in men
D.
too. You
Yeah.
know? Like we love a confident man, not a cocky man, but
Absolutely.
a confident man.
Exactly. There's a big difference.
Yeah, huge difference.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, someone wants to know, what is your skincare routine? Her skin is flawless.
Oh my God. I made it. No one knows that. Yeah.
I'm excited for that
I
one. Which
can't-
is funny when you said that. I was like,
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
I also say all the time, like, I feel like skin has always been number one to me, especially because I was an aesthetic nurse. Like,
Yeah.
I'm so educated on it because I'm obsessed with it. But I wear makeup maybe 2 to 3 times a week, if that.
okay, I want to ask you, have you done lasers?
No, never.
Never. It's genuinely just skincare.
Yeah.
And genetics. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, my
That's
sister was
rude.
on Accutane.
You're really rude.
I
I was expecting like a whole laser treatment. I was like
No.
excited.
No, I've never done like laser or Morpheus. I do like my sprinkle of Botox, like in my
Okay.
forehead, my crow's feet, and that always gives you
Yeah.
a little glow.
Yeah.
But I dissolved my filler. That's all gone. But I
Are you
could
gonna
not
do
tell
more filler?
you.
Are you gonna do it back again?
I don't think so.
Really?
I don't think so.
I just dissolved because my bottom lip is natural,
Oh,
but my top
period.
lip is like
Okay, DSLs.
literally.
For real.
So when I was migrating, I dissolved it, and then I was like, I literally have to have top filler simply because my bottom one is just like,
I want to give it like a month for like the filler to fully dissolve
Yeah.
because it takes like a few weeks.
Yeah.
And then see where I'm at. But I always tell people like I wear makeup only a couple times a week, and when I do, it's like concealer and liquid blush. Like I never wear foundation unless I'm at an event.
no, I
ever.
know. I see this all the time, and I was like, that's why I was like, no, it has to be lasers. I'm glad that you're
No.
advocating for that like opposite though, because I feel like a lot of women feel like they have to spend thousands of dollars on lasers.
Yeah, I
Me
know.
being one of them.
No, I think don't sleep with makeup on. I never touch my face with the inside of my hands. I'm like super OCD about that. If I have an
Okay.
itch, I'm like, this because the oils and dirt
Yeah.
on the inside of your palms is so bad for you. I change out my pillowcase multiple times a week. That's a
Okay.
big one too. And then I double cleanse my face even when I'm not wearing makeup.
Top 2 favorite cleansers.
Oh, used to the people kale and green tea spinach. I've used that since Ziggy. I was
Write that
pregnant
down.
with him. No, when I was pregnant with Ziggy, fun fact, which he's turning 7 this year. That's crazy. So
Crazy.
7 years ago, when I got pregnant with him, that was the first time in my life I had acne. I was like, what the fuck's going on with my face? Because my hormones were all whacked.
Yeah.
And all of my products had some sort of like retinol or peroxide that would pass through the placenta. And so my OB was like, try this. It's an all natural cleanser. And I've used it ever since for
I love
7
it.
years.
Yeah, that's a long time.
Yeah,
That's a really long time.
obsessed.
Okay, good to know. This is actually for both of us. What scares you both about being an influencer? What scares you most about being an influencer?
Scares me. I mean, probably my safety. Like I've
That was what I was
become,
going to say.
it's funny because people think even still now, like I share every part of my life, but I really have like slowly become very private. I think people like haven't really caught on to that, but like I pre-film a lot of my
I was going to say
stuff.
I've
Like
noticed that.
I don't show a lot of like where we live anymore. Yeah, it just got to a point
Because you were having people show up at your door.
every day and we lived in a gated community. Yeah, like they were following in people, they were leaving messages on our doorbell camera, handwritten notes.
Yeah.
And it gets to a point where, of course, sometimes it's flattering and like they're a fan. And I'm so grateful because I would not have my
Yeah.
life or a platform without the people that support me. I'm grateful every day.
But there's boundaries.
But there's boundaries. And
Mhm.
also like I have young kids at home and maybe if my husband's not home and I'm a woman, like that can
Yeah.
be scary. And I think that there's a lot of crazy people on the internet and
Yeah. Our answer is the same. It's the safety. We've been followed home.
Yeah.
We've had our floor plan leaked.
Yeah.
And then also just dealing with his job. He's dealing with very high-end criminals. And it's like if something were to go wrong, they don't give a shit about Raphael's life. They're like,
Yeah.
we know exactly who your wife is. We want to hurt you. Not you physically. We want to hurt her so we can hurt you internally.
That's
And I'm
actually
like,
part of the reason I left nursing like full time. That was like my final straw in October of 2023. I so I left PICU in December of 2022 because I wanted to try aesthetic nursing full time. And after the pandemic, everyone on our unit pretty much left and I was like, I'm not staying here anymore. They were doing like really unsafe patient pairings and it just wasn't good because we didn't have staff. So I did aesthetic nursing while I was building up my social media full time. I actually didn't even leave nursing until I think I had like 1.5 million TikTok followers and a full team behind me because I was so
good for you.
scared to leave. Like that's how I support my family,
Yeah.
and that was a
And
scary
we were
leap.
raised that you clock in, you get a steady paycheck,
Yep.
you get your 401.
Oh yeah,
everything.
girl. At 16 years old, I pay for my own health insurance. Like my parents instilled that work ethic in me, and I had an appointment booked for a virtual consult for someone to get Botox, and it was a man. And I was like, okay, whatever. Like people would come in from out of state because our med spa particularly had like a really great incentive program. So people would come like travel out and like obviously a lot of these people wanted to meet me, which again is flattering, but like I am technically a nurse and like I am treating you, so it's going to be professional. And people would start like to bring in their friends and like make it almost like a photo shoot. And I was like, this is a professional setting.
Yeah.
So anyways, this guy books a virtual consult on Zoom and we go to sign on and he's like, oh, my computer's not working. Can we just do it over the phone? And I'm like, okay. And I like immediately had a bad vibe. So I got the owner, who's a good friend of mine, with me in a room and I put it on speakerphone because I was like, I just feel like I need a witness. I feel like this is weird.
Oh God.
And he goes, oh, Avery Wood, like you work as a nurse? I said, yeah. He's like, are you a registered nurse? I'm like, yeah. And he's like, oh, and you work here, you guys charge this much, and is like asking questions about the Botox. And I'm like, yes. And then he like starts to get weird. And he's like, oh, and I see you're married. And I said, yes. And he's like, and like you have kids and a family. I said, okay, where is this going? Like, this is supposed to be like a Botox consult. This is freaking me out. And he's like, well, I met someone online that used all your photos and I wired her over a bunch of money And then she cut me off and ghosted me. And so I reverse Google image the photo and it brought me to your profile and I had no way to contact you. So I saw you work at this med spa. So I booked an
I did not know where
appointment.
this was going.
So I booked an appointment because I called the FBI and they said I need to contact the actual person using the photos in order to like file a report to get my money back. And I was like,
Was he expecting you to pay him?
I can't help you with that. It wasn't me. Obviously, you know it wasn't me because
Yeah.
it wasn't me. Why the fuck are you sending someone? I was like, did you talk to this person like face to face on the phone? No.
Well, you're
I'm
an
like,
idiot.
well, obviously. So I was like, I think it's time for me to leave nursing. So I did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Is there anyone that you're dying to meet?
Beyonce.
Really? Mine's Sophia Richie.
You know what?
Obsessed with her.
Do you know what's so funny?
Don't ruin her for me. Is she?
No, she's
Okay.
the greatest. And
She...
my really close friend Kathleen just did her Met Gala hair. We were just texting. She
I
slayed the
know.
house down.
I
Yeah.
was like, that's the only person I ever care about.
Kathleen does my hair for every event, and she's the greatest. But I met Sophia at an MEJ event, MEJ, the hair company, obsessed with them. And this was probably in 2023, and I was sitting at the table, and I get a tap on my shoulder, and it was, I heard you're the it girl of TikTok, and I turned my head, and it was
It's
Sophia
her.
Richie, and I was like,
I would shit myself.
no, you're literally Sophia Richie. I'm no one. I'm obsessed with her. She's like the biggest girl's girl. Just
I was
such
gonna
a
say she gives the best vibes.
she's such a kind human
Mhm.
and just like, oh my God. And I was like, I'm obsessed with your trousers. Where are they from? And she's like, East Saint Laurent. And I was like, out of my budget, but I love you. No, she's iconic. I'm
I was gonna
obsessed with
say
her.
I can vibe pretty well, like people's vibes.
Yeah.
And I was like, she just gives me the
She's
kindest,
incredible.
most amazing person.
Yeah.
And like to just look like her, I'm like, what's it like?
She's incredible. And like Kathleen says, she's the greatest mom. Like,
I love that.
just the best mom.
Active
They're
as
really
well,
the sweetest family. Yeah.
Dream podcast interview.
Beyonce.
I love this. Okay, this is actually a good question. A little controversial.
Okay.
Do people go on your podcast because you genuinely like them or for publicity?
I will say that I turn down a lot of guests.
Really?
Yeah, for sure, because I feel like they either don't really fit the vibe of the
Yeah.
podcast. Also, I interact and listen to my audience so much that I know what they want to see.
Yeah.
And so I'll always like guide that. We're technically listed as a comedy podcast just because I like to have fun and
Yeah.
you know, we tell jokes and all of that. But if it's not part of my genre or something I don't think my audience would click with or I would click with, then, you know, kindly we pass. But people obviously approach us to be on, maybe if they have something coming up.
I
But
didn't think that.
if I enjoy the person's content or I want to get to know them a little bit better, I love having them on. I'm also like, I don't care about numbers or
Yeah.
following or engagement. Like, that's not important for me. I think having a podcast gives you the opportunity to have a voice and share people's stories. And whether people know the person or not, I don't really care because honestly, that's like the beautiful thing about my job is I get to have a conversation with someone and get to know them better
Yeah.
or learn something, you know, like I learned something with you today about grief and I loved that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm honored. This is one last one that I have. Actually, I lied. This one's funny. Would you rather sneeze or fart every time you orgasm?
Shit.
I'm dead that
Probably
someone asked me this.
sneeze.
Really?
Yeah, because like what if he's down there? I don't want to fart while I'm getting off. The fuck? He get pink eye. Poor guy.
Okay, this is one last one that I have that someone asked. Actually, a lot of people wanted to talk about the blended family, and I
Oh,
don't know if you've ever talked about
That's
that,
fine.
but I came from a blended family.
Yeah.
And I had bad blended family. Like they
Oh,
did
I'm
better
sorry.
the older we got
Yeah.
just because my mom and dad were able to kind of figure it out. What does your blended family look like with the mom side? Because obviously you have a great relationship with the girls.
Yeah.
What does it look like as parents though?
I mean, it's been hard. Like, I'm not gonna lie. It's been really difficult and like I've shared little things here and there, but obviously I will always respect her privacy and the fact that she is their mom. I will never speak down about her. I will never speak down about her in front of the children
Right.
ever. All I can do is control my relationship with them. That's the
Mhm.
only thing I can do. I can show up for them. I can support them. I can make sure that they have the best life possible and that, you know, they're set up for college and to get a car and have a wedding and these things that will come up. Like, you know, that's going to be my responsibility. And that's something that I signed up for. And I'm honored to do that. And also, whether they're my blood or not, they are my children.
Yeah.
And I will give them
And you can
everything
tell.
in life that I've never had. That will be forever. Like I remember at 19 years old, I went to Target and bought them new swimsuits for summer. Like a normal 19-year-old doesn't do that,
Yeah, no, you knew what you signed up for.
Yeah,
And I
like,
respect that huge because I went opposite. I had said I will never marry someone with children simply because of the trauma that my stepmom instilled in me. It wasn't my parents, it was my step parents that like they signed up for something and acted like we showed up at their door 10 years later. I'm like, "No, you signed up for this
yeah.
shit." And
No,
as an adult, you put a lot on a kid that like I'm still healing through as an adult.
yeah, like I remember, and I've always been told like you're a very old soul. That's why when I met David and he was 24, my parents weren't surprised because they were
Yeah.
like, you've always been very mature for your age, and like I always wanted to be a mom. I knew I always wanted to be a mom. And so I loved, it was half the time they were with us. Like that was 3.5 days a week, every single week. While I'm a college student working at Starbucks, like they were home with us. Like that was what we did and they were 4 and 2 when I first met them. And I remember, obviously there's hesitancies when it comes to the beginning when you like meet each other. But that was something I told her, I really wanted to meet her in front of the girls because I didn't want them to think that there was any animosity. Ziggy and Stevie are starting to ask questions now. They don't understand why their sisters aren't with us all the time or why they have another house. Like they don't get
Yeah.
that. And like David has always said, that's a conversation he's going to have with them individually when they're older because that's his story to tell. And I respect that fully.
Yeah.
But, it's, fuck, what was I saying? What was I saying? What was I
I have
going
one
on?
last question to go off of it. So, is there any advice that you would give to someone that is struggling, especially being the stepmom
Mm-hmm.
or the bonus mom? What if there's another bonus mom out there that's struggling to co-parent with
Yeah.
someone else? What's advice that you would give them?
I didn't ever want her to think that I tried to replace her as a mom. That was my biggest thing. I knew where I stood in that scenario. I was not their mom. And that's one thing too. Like they called me Avery until I think around when we were engaged and they chose to call me mom. Like that was a choice that they made. That was never like you call me mom. Like I was
Yeah.
Avery to them
Yeah.
for a lot of years. And it was even more of an honor that it was their choice to call me that. That
And they
was
just one day call you mom?
yeah.
Did you cry?
Oh yeah. Like and it was always like that's your choice. Like we don't ever want you to feel like you have to do that. And it
Yeah.
was always like, no, we want to. I think that we've navigated it very well and that it's been, over a decade and the girls are like Anaya's gonna be driving soon. That's
Crazy.
crazy. Like we're gonna be car shopping for her soon. And there's a lot of life events that are going to be coming up where we're all gonna have to be together.
Mm-hmm.
And our number one priority is to focus on the girls, make sure that nothing's awkward, and make sure that when it's time to celebrate them, that attention's on them.
Yeah.
Like,
That's what you're doing is celebrating them.
yes. And like, I even deal with that when it comes to my job because my littles don't understand. Like, they have no idea what I do for a living. But like,
Yeah.
obviously, my oldest girls go to junior high. Like, all of
Yeah.
their friends have TikTok and Instagram, and like, they see who I am, they know who I am. And that's something have empathy for my girls because they don't deserve that. Like, they don't deserve to see horrible things said about
Mm-hmm.
their mom, their stepmom, their not their bio mom, but when I'm saying
Yeah.
mom, me, like obviously as a public figure. And that's something that we try to protect them from as much as possible, which is why I went so long without showing them online.
Yeah.
I went 3 years without showing them online. And then that was a decision that they made that they wanted to be in my content. And that's something that we talk about anytime I share
love
anything.
that.
Like I'll always be like, are you okay if I post this? Is this okay if I post this? That's their decision
Yeah.
to make because it's their choice now at, almost 16 and 14 years old, which
Yeah.
is
How wild
nuts.
is that?
No, it's crazy because we really grew up together.
Yeah.
Like when I'm 35 and I will be 21.
That's nuts.
Yeah. So I was like, girl, we're going to Vegas.
Can I go to her 21st birthday
100%.
party? Like, invite me,
100%.
please.
Yeah. So anyways, I just, you can be as protective as you can, but also give them some leniency when it comes to being kids. I just, all I care about is that they're protected, that they have a normal childhood, and they've, again, have grown up with me. Like they've seen me they were with me when I was studying my ass off in nursing school,
Mm-hmm.
and now I get to take them with me to events to meet Selena Gomez because
I
they're
love
obsessed
it.
with her,
I love
So
it.
it's like, what a privilege. Like,
Yeah.
that's such a cool thing to experience with them. And I'm so lucky to do that.
Yeah.
And they're all also like, I will do anything and everything for them because they're the best kids. Like, they are so respectful. They're such good students. They're involved in amazing extracurricular activities. Sydney's so great at volleyball. Anaya's incredible at musical theater and choir. Like, they're so talented. And it's not easy to come from a divorced family so
Yeah.
young. Like, that's
Yeah.
really fucking hard. And then now to have a stepmom in the public eye that a lot of people give shit to, like, that's really, really hard.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just so proud of like their poise and the way that they carry themselves and their emotional intelligence. And, I love them so much. And they are so equally aligned with Ziggy and
You
Stevie.
can tell. You can
It's
tell.
not even a
You don't even need
question.
to like defend that. You can just tell. You can feel it.
Yeah, because at
But that's why I
18,
wanted to ask that, because that's hard. It's hard to be a stepmom in that role. And
yeah,
like, I give grace for stepmoms actually, because exactly like what you said, it's like so my issue was my dad was fighting for custody when he got with my stepmom, but my parents divorced before I was even
mm,
2. And she was pregnant with her son, so my brother. And she told my dad, you have to pick and choose. Like, we have a kid on the way. Stop fighting for custody for them.
that's fucking crazy.
But that's where it was like, like, so I give grace to both sides of to both sides of the coin, but I
Hmm.
always want to know, because you handle it with such grace, and you don't feel like you're, at least on your content side, you don't feel like anything is one or the other or higher and less. And even just like with the bio mom, like, you don't feel like you're trying to replace her. Like, you can
Never.
tell all of that.
Yeah.
But I think that's really hard, especially in your role of like maneuvering and like your own children and having them and like making David feel comfortable in all of it.
Yeah.
I give you a lot of grace, and
Thank
obviously
you.
her as well too. But
Yeah, it's crazy because Dave and I met when I was 18. I think I met the girls when I was 19. And I didn't have Ziggy until I was 23. So for like 6 years, it was just
yeah,
us. So I always say like they made me a mom,
yeah,
not in a normal, natural way, but like they taught me how to parent, how to um be selfless and like never put myself
yeah.
first. And as a 19, 20, 21, 22-year-old girl, like that's
I can't
that's
imagine.
a huge sacrifice to make that I look back on, but it was never a question for me. It was
Yeah.
never like, oh, is this worth it? Like, oh, I don't want to do this. I and nothing filled my cup more than being with them.
Hmm.
And again, like they're just the best. They're the best kids ever. And anyone that meets them says that. Like they are just truly, I feel so lucky to have them as my
God knew.
kids.
God knew.
Yeah.
We
No,
say that
really.
all the time. Even like we were meant to be in the roles that we were in.
Yeah. And
Absolutely.
I sometimes I wish, maybe I was a little bit closer with their mom, but I think that I will always respect her boundaries
Hmm.
and what she's okay with. And, I think it's like, it's really hard to mourn what was your life before. And like, that was something that David was in therapy for a lot of years in the beginning of our relationship. Like it's hard to go through divorce and split custody. That's a very real
Yeah.
thing.
I can't imagine being in his shoes, giving up 2 of his kids every few weeks and then back and forth.
Oh,
That's tough.
yeah.
I remember just watching my dad just bawl like a baby every
Yeah.
time he had to take us to the airport.
Yeah.
But it's life.
Yep. And you know what? For everything that those kids have been dealt, I just couldn't be more proud. And I can't wait to see what they do. Like, Anaya wants to study music and go to somewhere like NYU and do
Oh my God, fun.
theater. And Sydney wants to do cosmetology. And I'm like, whatever you guys want to do, I'm just, I'm just so proud of them. So
I
I
love
can't
it.
wait for them to be here this summer. We're going to have so much fun.
Well, thanks for answering my
Oh my God,
questions.
of course. And thank you for being
Yeah.
on. You're the
Thank you for
best. I
having me.
just love and adore you so much.
Thank you.
Where can people find you? What are your socials?
I'm the annoying girl that you've probably scrolled past many times in
That
life.
is so not true. Stop it.
Instagram, TikTok, all the good stuff. I'm Catherine Ebbs on everything though. Catty Ebbs on TikTok because someone stole my username. And then we're like 10,000 to get it back. I was like, Catty it is.
10,000 is crazy.
I know. It was, and Catty Ebbs was like my nickname in elementary because that's when Mean Girls came out. So it was like, yeah, I was Catty. And then, yeah, it just stuck.
And your
so.
podcast.
It's on pause right now.
Oh,
The
okay.
cards have just been such a passion of mine, and the
Yeah.
podcast was tough. Not tough. I loved it. Again, giving people voices and advocating for a lot of different things in life, but it was too much for me.
Yeah.
So I don't know when it'll be back and if it'll be back. A lot of people are like, "Are you canceling it?" I'm like, you know what? For right now, I'm just chilling.
We're just pausing.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with
Yeah.
that. Well, I love you. I'm proud of
Thank
you.
you.
And I can't wait to see what you do the rest of the year.
Thank you. Cheers.
Cheers.